Look, I've had the opportunity to interview a lot of famous hockey players before. Nothing really phases me anymore. Hey Steve. Yeah? You want to interview Mats Sundin? So, where to begin? I guess we'll start with the basics. Adam, Jesse, and I interviewed Mats Sundin for the podcast. The Mats Sundin. Captain Mats. Number 13. Most goals in Leafs history. First European-born player to ever be picked first overall. Mats freaking Sundin. At the beginning I was just doing a bit, but I have had the good fortune over the past few years to interview a lot of hockey players. And there are some guys I haven't spoken to yet and would like to. I've never talked to Alex Ovechkin. He's busy doing keg stands out of the Stanley Cup right now. I've never talked to Connor McDavid, and even though I've met his parents, I have not met Austin Matthews himself. But I don't fret about those guys because there's time. Matthews and McDavid are going to be playing for like the next 2 decades, and Ovechkin, if his liver survives the next week, is going to be around for a while too. But Mats is retired. But there are lots of Leafs alumni that aren't that hard to meet. They're at all the events. But Mats is almost never around anymore. And he's carved out a nice retired life for himself in Sweden. He wants to be a dad. He wants to be left alone by the Toronto media. He had over a decade of that. But getting the opportunity to talk to Mats Sundin live in person is something I just didn't think was going to happen. Well, last week he returned home, his hockey home, Toronto. And he was a busy bee. Sundin, along with the Leafs, donated $20,000 to Sick Kids Hospital. And the Leafs have done a lot of work with sick kids over the years, including when Sundin was a Leaf. And if you're from the GTA, odds are you know someone who was directly helped by sick kids. In fact, Sportsnet's Faisal Khamisa did something amazing with Sundin. If you haven't seen it yet, check this out. In 2005, Faisal was a cancer patient at Sick Kids Hospital, and here he is taking a picture with Alexei Ponikarovsky and Mats Sundin. 13 years later, they met again. It's a beautiful thing. Now, one of the other things that Sundin did while he was here was a special VIP hockey experience. And you had a chance to be a part of it. If you listened to the podcast, you would have known that. The winners got a chance to have a weekend hockey experience through LeoVegas.net with Mats Sundin. And not just him either. The experience featured a lot of things, but most importantly, it featured 2 hours of hockey on Saturday and 2 hours of hockey on Sunday. With Sundin, Brian Berard, Todd Warner, Nick Antropov, Stumpy, Steve Thomas, Cujo. Glenn Healy was there mostly to make fun of people. Ty Domi was there too. I told him I liked his book Shift Work. He stuck out his fist to give me props and accidentally broke my hand, but it's fine.
My nose. This is the B-roll. This is the B-roll.
And it looks so fun. I was actually amazed at how well all the winners were keeping up. Like everybody could skate. Everybody was there to play. Like they were playing for a contract. The alumni most of the time were like messing around. Sundin kept doing this thing where he would come in and kick his stick. But what was crazy is at 47 years old, even kicking the puck with his stick was harder and more accurate than most people could do if they were trying their absolute hardest. And the goalies were actually really good. I'm surprised there weren't more pulled groins. And then afterward, we got to interview Mats freaking Sundin. If you haven't seen it yet, it's on the podcast channel. You're gonna want to check that out. It's 16 minutes long. If you need a little convincing, here's a snippet.
Do you consider yourself a Leaf fan to this day? Are you
of
a fan
course.
of the team?
I think we all had, anyone who's been in Toronto, been associated with the Maple Leaf, whether as a player or as a fan on the street, we all want for the Leaf fans in the city of Toronto to win a championship and a Stanley Cup. So we're all hoping this group's going to get it together for sure.
Do you have any non-Mats Sundin Leaf memorabilia?
Now, one of my favorite parts was he was talking about different eras and stuff. Eras! And he talked about how you can't compare eras, which sucked to hear for me because I wrote a bunch of articles called Era Adjusted, where I literally just compared eras.
It's impossible to compare different eras, you know.
Yeah.
But it's impossible to compare different eras.
It's impossible to compare different eras.
It's okay, my feelings are, it's fine. But enough about us. The winners got to do a lot more cool stuff with them. They got to hang out with them, have meals together. They went to the Hockey Hall of Fame and got a tour. One of the winners said they were looking at something with Glenn Healy and he's like, hey, that's mine. Yeah, you know, like most people. Go to a museum, look behind the glass and go, ah, yes, that's mine. What a life. And what an experience, man. It was so good to talk to Mats. Like, that was cool. That was definitely a bucket list thing. But even more than just talking to him, as someone who grew up a huge Leafs fan, as someone who grew up watching him all the time, and as someone who has missed him like so many Leafs fans, it was so good to see him back on the ice. All his equipment looked the exact same. That's Mats, you can tell. I mean, without cheating and looking at the number and nameplate. The hockey pants, the shoulder pads, the stick is the same length. The bucket, he had the same bucket. And when he turned on the jets, forget it. You talk about a guy designed for the clutch and grab era, like he's flying into the offensive zone with guys hooking onto him. He's like Rudolph pulling the sleigh. Didn't matter, over 500 goals. Ah, it was just so refreshing to see him. So an enormous thank you to Leo Vegas for putting that event on. An enormous thanks to Mats Sundin for even humoring us. And many, many thanks to you for watching. So click like if you like this video, click subscribe if you really liked it, tell all your friends, and if you want to watch the Mats Sundin interview on the podcast channel, it's one of the things around my head. I don't know which one. I haven't decided yet. This feels right. I'm going to do it there.